This video will be a lot different than what I usually do. I'm simply going to tell you a personal story from real life that happened to me in 2017. The reason why is because with everything going on in the world, especially with people out of a job due to the pandemic, forcing people to shut businesses down, some permanently, you will always keep hearing these three words: Amazon is hiring. And if you're desperate enough, suddenly whatever they offer won't seem like such a bad choice. I personally may be fine now during the pandemic. I still have a job and means to pay my bills. But I know a lot of people may find themselves in a similar situation that happened to me a few years ago that caused me to take a job at one of those Amazon fulfillment centers. At the beginning of 2017, I was still doing fine as a full-time ice hockey coach. However, politics were beginning to put the kibosh on me doing what I did to earn money. In the interest of saving time, all you really need to get out of that is a combination of business deals and politics with a new hockey club that moved into the rink ultimately drove out all the longtime reputable coaches. I was the last remaining one, despite the business deal technically stating that only the new club could earn money doing lessons. And that was mainly because of the relationship I had with the owners. But because I was the last remaining lesson coach operating on my own, there of course was a lot of tension and politics going on that basically meant that all my lessons, my bread and butter of income, was on borrowed time. And 2017 was when that time was catching up. Slowly but surely, my privileges were getting taken away, and I started resenting everything going on at that rink and wishing for a way out. It just wasn't enjoyable for me anymore. Still, I kept getting told by my family three words: Amazon is hiring. Two things then happened. Over that summer, my means of income was stopped completely when the two ice rink location was operating on only one sheet, so the other one could get repaired. And they worded it like, well, the lesson spots all during the lesson times are being taken by the new club, so you're SOL. And then the other thing that happened is Blue Shield, with whom I had canceled my policy ahead of time, knowing that my means of income was being stretched thin and I wasn't able to afford health insurance, they charged me anyway and overdrew my bank account. Even though they realized their mistake when going over the records, each time I called them, they kept telling me, oh, it'll take 7 to 10 business days for that money to come back. Meanwhile, each day my account was overdrawn, my bank kept charging me overdraft fees, despite me telling them what happened. And my bank account didn't seem to care that the reason why I was overdrawn was because the company charged me when they shouldn't have been charging me. And each day I kept expecting the money back, Blue Shield kept saying, oh, it's going to be another 7 to 10 business days, blah, 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 blah. I even yelled at them, you had no problem taking the money out, so why can't you press a goddamn key and put it back in? This is your mistake. Fix the fucking mistake. Oh, sorry, sir, this has to happen and this and that and then, yeah, well, they were a bunch of morons. Every phone call was not consistent, and they just didn't have a straight answer for why they were doing this to me. Between all this and the recent divorce, this was just not a great time for me. No work, overdrawn account, just a shitty situation. But still, Amazon is hiring. Okay, alright. Everything they promised for a new seasonal hiree seemed very promising after all. Most importantly, full-time job and weekly paycheck. And once I started working, I'd be back on my feet and past the bullshit that Blue Shield and my former job put me through. A friend of mine happened to work at the same place I went to, and he seemed happy enough being there. The only part that was sad and screwed up was that for 40 hours a week, I earned the same amount of money I used to get doing maybe 10 hours a week from lessons. Oh well, gotta move on. So I went through the interview, which was merely one of those group interviews where there were dozens of people, maybe 100 people in the same room, all doing the same drug test, all doing the same initiation class and tour of the building, which boasted about safety and how much it was a great place to work. Oh yeah, da-da-da-da-da, it's all puppies and rainbows and unicorns here. Okay, got it. I just felt like I was restarting everything that I had worked for. 10 years of full-time coaching down the drain because of stuff out of my control. I was tasked as a picker and worked 10-hour nights from Sunday through Wednesday, or front half as they would call it, which I was fine with because night shifts paid a little bit more. Now, for those that don't know what picker means, it means I was the one moving through the aisles and picking out items and sending them to be shipped. So, yes, if you so happen to be the person who had Bible prayer books and anal beads in the same order, I picked it off the shelves for you and scanned them. The so-called day of training wasn't even a day, it was maybe just the first few hours, where they'd walk your group through the process, but then you were on your own the rest of the night. During the provisional period where I was still learning the ropes, it seemed like a decent enough job, and if you were working at a comfortable pace, it was almost kind of fun, checking out all these items that you were scanning. But as soon as the pressure of keeping up with the pace they expected started getting pushed on me, that's when I started thinking, I'm not getting paid enough for this shit. FYI, I was getting paid about $12 an hour before taxes. As a picker, my scanner would tell me the aisle, what bin to go to, and find the item being ordered. Even these merchandise inventory areas were hugely long and wide, and there were 3 floors of it. You had perhaps hundreds of people in these areas at any given time, whether putting items in the shelves or taking them out. And again, these sections of these gigantic buildings were still so large that you could not see the other end from the other. What was in those bins? You name it. While there were defined sections between which had clothing bins versus random items in the drawers, there was no organization in what was what. I mean, with the amount of inventory that goes in and out, I get it, that's near impossible. Each time my scanner told me where to go, I was given an allotted amount of time to find it in a timely and productive manner, which was mathematically calculated depending on where I was at to where I needed to go. Sounds fair, right? Well, it was barely enough time to get from A to B, and you still had to quickly find and scan that item in the bin within that time. And in these bins, everything is just thrown in there, like looking for something in a dirty laundry pile or an office drawer full of stuff just thrown in there that's not easy to find. Sure, they told you what to look for and all that to save time, but it got really frustrating. You find it in time, your production score wasn't hurt. Can't find it fast enough, your score got docked. Scan the wrong item accidentally, your score got docked. Scan the right item but the wrong barcode, your score got docked. Scan the wrong item too many times while looking for the item in question, your score got docked. Spend too much time not scanning an item, your score got docked. Spend too much time in the bathroom or off task, your score got docked. 10 hours of monotonous work where you're expected to be 100% accurate, 100% time efficient, 100% of the time, and you're walking, squatting, reaching, and lifting constantly. But they didn't seem to care if you got tired or dealt with any cramps or aches that slowed you down. Oh, we value your safety. We take pride in how we make sure everyone is safe in the building from accidents, and we're always there to help you stay hydrated and replenished. See how we have water stations throughout the place on every floor, and hey, what are you doing? What are you doing standing there drinking water? Why aren't you scanning anything? Get back to work. Okay, where were we? Oh, we value your health and safety and well-being. You'll find there are plenty of facilities and amenities in our building for your needs. And oh my, what in God's name are you doing in that bathroom? You think those toilets and urinals are there for you to actually piss in? Peeing and pooping is not scanning items. Get back to work before we write you up. How dare you have to go to the bathroom? Now where are we? Oh yes. Here we at Amazon, we got your bullshit. Pretty much I was just a production number and nothing more. Oh, and let's not forget about the 15-minute breaks. Again, it took people up to 5 minutes easy to get from the merch area to the break room. But of course, you weren't allowed to start walking to the break room until break officially started, and you were expected to be back at your post by a certain time. So of that supposed 15-minute break you were given, you were realistically only given a few minutes out of that time to actually rest. And I'm the type of guy that doesn't like to stop what I'm doing if I'm on task in a good groove, so hence it's maddening when I have to take a break with everyone else regardless and get in trouble when I don't want to. 30-minute lunch breaks? Pfft, okay. Don't forget how far away the break room is from the stations you clock in and out. Better not be late. You barely get any time, not enough in my opinion, to rest and recoup before having to go back to another 5-hour grind. Since there's hundreds of people that have to take the lunch break at the same time as you, people are tripping over your shoes trying to clock in and out, or if you have something that needs to be microwaved, you're wasting valuable minutes of your lunch break battling for your turn with a microwave. If you work at a job where you have to time your bathroom breaks before and after the allotted break time so you can get the amount of rest you need, then your job sucks. And if you're just a production rating versus a human being, then your job sucks. And I haven't even gotten to the worst of it yet. Allow me to go over what's called the missing out process. So if you go through the bin and cannot find the item the scanner is telling you to find, you tell the scanner that. And then the scanner tells you to scan every item in the bin. Well, now you're wasting time going through every item, especially if these clothing bins have a few dozen of whatever in them. Sometimes you would end up finding the item after all, which is what that system is designed for. But of course, there'd be times when I made sure I scanned all the items and still kept getting told wrong item or invalid barcode, and thus reported that the bin was missing the item. Oh, and don't forget that the longer you spend doing this process, your production score goes down. Even though a lot of times you had to dig everything out so you can individually scan every item. Well, by some stroke of bad luck, I guess, if it turns out the item was actually there and I somehow missed it, then I got written up if that happened too many times. And that seemed to be one of their biggest no-nos of the job. Oh, but you wouldn't know you were getting written up for it until sometime later, like a week or two later, when the supervisor would call you up out of the blue and ask you, well, hey, do you remember this item you did the missing out process last week or 2 weeks ago? And I'm just standing there thinking, I scan over 1,000 items each shift and do the missing out process more than a few times. No way I'm going to remember that one item from a week ago. Oh, well, you reported this item missing, and it turned out it wasn't. I'm sorry, but you got written up. So yeah, get written up enough times, you get fired. So that's what happened to me eventually, right? Oh, but I'm not done yet. The thing is, I did get better despite how much in hindsight they set you up to fail. I was actually going to be promoted into a full-time permanent position, what we would call a blue badge, versus staying a seasonal or a white badge. But when I was supposed to become a blue badge, I got told, oh, you got written up last week because you messed up on the missing out process, so we can't promote you to blue badge. Well, fuck. Alright, I've dealt with that type of animosity before, I can deal with this. But then they pretty much proved how much they really didn't care whether or not I was successful. You see, 2017 was when the Great American Eclipse was supposed to happen. It was going to happen that August. Now that's something I had been waiting for since I was 9. No matter what, I was going to figure out a way to travel and go see it in all its glory. One problem, the eclipse was on a Monday, and I worked Mondays. Uh-oh. Well, I still encountered people in HR who somehow didn't know the eclipse was going to happen. They must train people in HR to live under rocks, I guess. But still, nobody in HR cared why I needed the time off and what for, and they were pretty clear that if I took more than 3 days off, then I was going to accrue too many attendance points and get fired. Wait, wouldn't I have had any sick time or vacation time to use? Nope, not for seasonal white badges. If I was a blue badge, then sure. But again, I wasn't allowed by their system to become a blue badge. After driving to see the eclipse in Wyoming that Monday, where I knew where there were no clouds, I ended up in Kansas City on a Tuesday night to visit my sister, where I would have been the day of the eclipse if their forecasts didn't predict cloudy skies. But because I didn't want to get fired, I cut my visit to my sister short and flied the earliest available flight Wednesday morning from Kansas City to LAX and try to get sleep before working that Wednesday night. But I was so jet-lagged, sleep-deprived, and cranky that my production score really suffered that shift. It was a nightmare 10 hours to get through. Hey, why was your score so low last week? Because I took 3 days off to see the solar eclipse, get on a plane and come back for day 4 so I wouldn't get fired. Oh, that explains why you only scanned that many items all week. It didn't say that you were off those 3 days. Oh, well, unfortunately, it can still raise a production alarm if you're too low on a single day. Motherfucker. Oh, it didn't matter that I was trying to show crazy dedication for this job that pretty much was proven to be not worth the long hours and shit pay. Again, I was just a production number to this place. So another week or two goes by, and I think I'm getting better, showing good production scores, and I'm actually getting praised by my supervisor, until finally I got called again for being wrong in the missing out process from a shift a week or two prior, and was just now being told, and was promptly fired that night because I had been written up too many times. Yeah, it sucked getting fired, but I learned really quickly that things could have been a lot worse. Right after I got fired, a couple days later, a former lesson client, the father of this poor kid, died. So once that happened, call it what you want, whether it's God or your inner conscience, it told me, you think your life sucks, but you're not dead. Your time at Amazon served its purpose, but it was never your permanent destination. You're way better than them. Of course, as it turned out, me being let go was the best thing that could have happened to me, as I wouldn't have applied nor work where I work now if that didn't happen. The job I do now very well suits me, and it's nice to get paid to do things I enjoy again. At the time I was working there, I kept telling myself, well, just be glad you have a job and you're earning money again. Just be thankful. But in hindsight, I can look back and realize how shitty of a job working at Amazon was. You hear about their high turnover rate and how they just quickly fire you as fast as they hired you. And I can safely say that's true. They practically set thousands of people up to fail, especially around the holidays when production demand requires so many people to the point where you have trolleys out in the parking lot. You're fighting huge parking lots that can take forever to walk through, fighting crowded work areas where people in your way can slow you down, fighting the physical needs and limitations of your own body to keep up with the demand, and racing against time for long hours and shitty pay, all to meet some bullshit production goal. I'm not saying their way of things doesn't work. Again, my buddy still works at one of these places, and he seems happy. It's just clear that it wasn't for me, and I will never go back, no matter how many times we'll always keep hearing those three words. There could be a nuclear apocalypse or giant impact extinction level for all they care, and we'll still hear those same three goddamn words. Amazon is hiring. If you're going through a rough period because of the pandemic shutting down and preventing you from earning money, trust me, I get it, because that was me in the summer of 2017, except it was politics, the other horrible P word, that caused it for me. If you hear those three words, given what's going on, hopefully this helps you in your decision making. Maybe it'll be different for you. Who knows? Thanks for listening, and feel free to share your thoughts. If you work or used to work at one of those places, share your story too. Maybe this story helps someone, maybe not. I am compelled to share it given what's going on. I'm Desert Coyote 22, your heavy metal astronomer, and thank you for listening.